right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the recap. Michael D'Angelo, Big D, Daryl Ortiz here once again. Recap all the action from Monday Night Raw and Friday Night Smackdown. I guess they just call it Smackdown. It's not Friday Night Smackdown anymore. And for this week, it's kind of an interesting, I'm going to say it's a mixed bag of stuff this week. Very, very odd. Yeah. But let's dive right in, Big D. Take us through Monday Night Raw and all the shenanigans.
Shenanigans indeed. Wasn't a big fan of Raw this week, so I'm gonna be a little bit biased on it. But it is.
Here comes all the hateful comments. Here they come.
They're coming. It's okay. But no. So we start out with King Gunther making his way to the ring. I'm not a fan of the King General moniker. I just prefer just King Gunther because he is the King of the Ring. And so, but whatever, it is what it is. Who knows? Maybe it'll stick. Maybe it'll land. We'll see. But yeah, he came out kind of doing his little thing, and then Damian Priest comes out to confront him because, of course, Gunther gets his title shot at SummerSlam, and he's obviously gonna go after Damian Priest's title, which would be a very interesting one. And of course, he's interrupted by none other than Drew McIntyre playing the same line. Again, it's like copy paste with the Seth Rollins thing, like, "Oh, you're focused too much on Gunther. You should be focused on me because you got me at Clash of the Castle." Yeah. Something tells me that if Drew doesn't win at Clash in the Castle, it'll be because of interference from Gunther. And then it's going to turn into WWE's favorite thing for a title is a triple threat. So yeah, that's my guess. That's kind of why I'm a bit annoyed about it, because we've done this before. We've done this dance. We've done this number. I mean, it's pretty much verbatim from Seth Rollins' rival with his whole gimmick, his whole thing with Drew McIntyre. So I'm not really impressed with what they're doing. I don't know how you feel about the whole segment.
You know, it was interesting. Like, Drew McIntyre is always great, and I enjoy seeing him, and I think he was the best on the mic for this segment. Damian Priest always feels a little out of place during the promos, and that everything is like him trying to be kind of a face, kind of a heel at the same time, and then every answer is, "Come on, dog. Really, dog?" Like, he never has that much to say. He always seems like he's thinking of something to say and can't quite get there.
Flirt with that line, right? Like you said, of being a heel and a face, sort of. So,
and they're having him toe that line right now, and it was like, so it was fine. Like, Drew's always fun. Damian was okay. The whole segment just seemed, and there's a copy paste segment like this on SmackDown to open the show too, which made me feel like, okay, we're literally did the same sequence here. Yeah, it was fine. I wasn't super thrilled with it. They're just trying to set the table for what was going to come forward. And then Braun came out like anticlimactically just to be like, "Okay, I'm here for my match."
Yeah,
just
to
walk up.
Excuse me, coming through. We got to get to work.
Coming through, kind of has the face down with Damian Priest, and then it was like, "Oh yeah, he's got a match with JD right now." Like the whole thing was like, "This is our way of getting out of this." Yeah.
JD's in the ring, and there's kind of like that awkward, like, not that there was, but it felt like there might as well have been like an awkward silence, and then Braun just walks out. "Okay, guys, so JD, me and you,
hey,
let's go.
We got a match. Ring the bell." Yeah, it was so the whole opening segment was just like, okay, it was fine, and then that led into the JD versus Braun.
Yeah, which again was typical Braun match, just overpowering JD, tossing him around like a sack of potatoes, nothing really. And of course, going for WWE's favorite body part, the leg, taking out the knee, trying to take the knee out, and Strowman, of course, I want to say he did get he got the victory on it, but ended up running him down, which led to a whole match segment, which you wanted to take serious, but the way they had Braun just hobbling, trying to pretend to run and be hurt at the same time, it kind of just looked ridiculous because they weren't really running very fast and he was hobbling, so it was just kind of like, it was just weird. But
everything about it was weird, and this match, like, I expected a good old fashioned squash match.
Oh yeah, just destroy him.
Just run through. There's no way JD should be competitive against Braun Strowman. No. And then it went, like, they started the match during the commercial. So you came back and the match was already going. Then they had a commercial break. Like, it went on for a while. And I was like, well, like, why is he having such a hard time putting JD away? And Pat McAfee called Braun Strowman a big SOB like 4 times. And he just kept, I was
the
like,
entire
okay.
match.
Yeah, I'm like, can you call him something else? Like, it was just, I get doing it the first time when he walked up, look at this big SOB, but he kept going back to the well. I'm going to say too many times on that one. So everything about it felt a little clunky to me. It was just not a great way to start the show.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, JD McDonough is a great wrestler. If you guys haven't seen him perform before at NXT UK, he is a really good wrestler. I mean, he was trained by Finn Balor. You know, great wrestler. I mean, but this should have just been like your run-of-the-mill squash match. Like Braun comes in, destroys him, obliterates him, and then like walks out. You know, that
because Braun's like 3 times his size.
Yeah,
like,
and then just
it's not
move on to
believable
the next
to make
thing
it that
for
competitive.
Braun. Yeah, then move on to the next thing for Braun. Like there's no need for him to feud with Judgment Day because there's already like 3 freaking feuds with Judgment Day right now. So
yeah,
but it is what it is. The no selling the chair was a nice touch, but again, would have been better.
I did write that down. I was like, oh, he no sold the chair shot, but he still struggled with JD. He can eat a chair shot, but he's like,
yeah, exactly.
He can't put JD away. It's fine.
Next was an interesting match that I kind of was looking forward to, which was going to be a Ricochet Ilya Dragunov rematch, and it would have been cool to see. Of course, Ricochet comes out, he's in the back, he's taped up, and he's just like, I want Braun, and they're like, he's not here, he's suspended, I fined him, which of course we all know was a lie. So the match starts, it gets off, it's okay, it gets going pretty good. Of course, these two, I don't think these two can put together a bad match alone, and especially not together. No. You know, so it was a great match. It started, and then of course Braun Breaker comes with like the most vicious spear, but I will note, Braun Breaker is so athletically built and gifted. Like that man, I don't know if you saw, there was like a different camera angle that they showed.
Yeah, the overhead shot with him
where
out of the crowd.
That sprint, he got to the ring from behind the barricade and into the ring. I swear it must have been like in 3-4 seconds. Like he was over, he just like easily just over. Yeah. Oh yeah. Like
he looked like he was doing parkour. Like if you see it, because it was like a drone shot, and he was like boom, 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 over the barricade, into the ring, hit the spear. It was very impressive from that angle. When you saw it on TV, you didn't see any of that. In TV, it's like you see Ricochet get up, and then you kind of see Braun come into frame and spear him. So you're more surprised by it on TV.
I'm sure.
But it looks more impressive what I saw later.
Yeah, and I think production's probably like, damn, we should have been hovering the whole time. That would have been. I don't think they realized how athletic Braun Breaker really is, and he just like it looked really good. So I mean, again, this was after the fact, but you know, during the match, of course, takes out the spear, ends in a no contest because he takes them both out and all that good stuff. So more than likely a triple threat between these three. I'm all for it. I think it'd be a great. Yeah, it's gonna be a slugfest. That's gonna be a brutal match. I'm telling you right now, that's gonna be a very vicious match. There's gonna be a lot of spots in that match, so I'd be excited to see that at SummerSlam. Let them build for that, but I don't know. What do you think?
Well, this one was good. This one I really enjoyed up until the finish, just because heading into it, I thought, okay, who's gonna get the win here? You know, is it gonna be Dragunov or Ricochet? Are they gonna do 50-50 booking on this? And then you got a no contest, and I was like, it just feels cheap. Yeah. It's like you didn't want either one of them. You wanted them both look strong. You didn't want either one to lose. So Braun Breaker comes in and just smashes everybody, and that's that. So I wasn't super happy with the way that it ended. I will say this was like the second Looney Tunes moment of the night because the first segment, like all the stuff with Braun limping around, was a little cartoonish for me, and then there was a moment right before break where Ilya Dragunov was yelling, and then he starts biting the rope, and he's like, arr, 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 bugging his eyes, and they're zooming into his face, and then you hear Pat McAfee yell, he's eating the ropes, and then it cuts to break, and it was just, it was so cheesy and kind of cringy and awkward, where I was like, okay, that's the second, and there's more Looney Tunes to come, but that was another Looney Tunes moment, and there were quite a few throughout the show that just kind of took me out of it with this. Some of the silliness was a little much. This would have been probably my match of the night had it not been for the finish.
It was. It was actually a really good match. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I wasn't a fan of the finish, but you know, in hindsight, it's like how do you end the match without either guy taking the fall or either guy taking the loss, right? I mean, you don't want to do a count out. Yeah. You don't want to do a double count out. But I mean, I get why they're doing it because Braun's pissed off that these two got a chance to compete for King of the Ring and he didn't. So I'm a fan of them continuing that story. That's why he's targeting them because he's like, you know, Ilya is him and Ilya kind of came in together at the same time more or less, and now it's like, well, why does he get a chance versus me or whatever? So I get it. So we'll see what they do with it. After that, you had AOP against the Creed brothers. Hate to see the Creed brothers lose, but I feel AOP. I feel AOP needed a victory to kind of make themselves a credible threat as a unit, right? Because I feel bad that during NXT they were this just dominant faction, this dominant force. I mean, and they were just destroying everybody, tag team champions, and then they fell flat when it came to the main roster. And I know that was because of the booking and all that stuff, and I totally get that. So it was good to see them pick up a victory. It was an okay match, nothing crazy. Of course, Scarlett distracting and all that good stuff, but I think it was a much needed win. It was just a shame it had to go against the Creed brothers, which I mean, I think they're trying to build some. I think they're trying to figure out what they want to do with them, but those are just my thoughts.
I mean, it was good. They did debut a kind of a new double team finisher.
Yeah, they did,
which was the What a Rush, which is a kind of a suplex and double sit out power bomb kind of thing. Yeah. So I thought that looks a lot better than the Super Collider. Super Collider looked a little weak to me because they kind of just touch their backs together and drop them. So
because they don't want to bang heads. So I get it. Yeah.
They're being very careful and they go dink and then they drop them down. So I thought this looks like a more devastating double team finisher.
It really does.
So I like that. That was for me. That was a good change for them.
And I like them paying homage to the Road Warriors, of course, because of Paul Ellering, who managed the Road Warriors. I think it was a great, a nice little nod to the Road Warriors, Animal and Hawk. I think that was great. I really enjoyed that move as well. I had to hear my notes. It was cool looking, because I love tag team moves that are in sync, that require them to kind of be on the same page, and it looked really cool. So excited to see how they keep running that through. So I like the name of it. Of course,
then, quick segue to all-time favorite double team finisher for you.
Oh, jeez,
off the top of your head.
Oh crap. Tag team finisher. I would say it would either have to be LOD doing the Doomsday Device. I love the Doomsday Device because it looks so devastating because they had him up and then just that. Yeah. Powerful clothesline off the top was awesome. And of course, the Heart Foundation, the Heart Attack, that was actually really cool too. Yeah. What about you?
See, I it may not be for everybody. I always thought the 3D was great. And
3D's always
from the
classic.
Dudley Boys. The 3D was great, and the 3D was great because they were so in sync with it, but it was very similar to like the RKO. You could hit it really fast. It didn't take a lot of setup. It was just the guy comes up, boom, boom, and you hit it. So I just enjoyed the Dudley Death Drop. For me, Attitude Era stuff, ACW stuff. I just liked it. But anyways,
that was a good one.
Back on to Monday Night Raw.
No, I really like that one.
Dudley Boys, miss those guys.
Oh yeah. After that, we had Lyra Valkyria taking on Kairi Sane. I swear to God, I will pronounce her name right one day. But
is it Lyra? Is Lyra right? Lyra.
It's Lyra, but Valkyria always. I think the combination just throws me off. But it's all good. Whatever.
Well, because it's also supposed to be like Valkyrie. So I'm like Valkyrie, but
that's
Valkyria,
what throws me off. Valkyrie.
Yeah.
It does, but it's okay. She takes on Kairi Sane. Gets a win after not being 100% from her loss. I like that they're giving her a chance to shine.
Yeah,
Kairi Sane is no chump either. Kairi Sane's a great competitor as well. I've been a fan of Kairi Sane when she made her debut. The Princess Pirate back at NXT was great. I'm a fan of the Insane Elbow because it looks so over. She does it so over the top. Like it looks so cool, and it's really she's not jumping any higher or further, but just the way she does it, it looks great. So I'm always a big fan of Kairi Sane, but Lyra picks up the victory here, and competing with the bruised ribs, which were targeted, of course, by Kairi Sane. She was doing the heel things and targeting her. But the reversal, into the pinfall from the Insane Elbow, that was pretty cool to see. So big ups to Lyra there picking up the victory. It was an okay match. It wasn't too long. I don't feel the match went on very long or anything like that. It was just kind of decent match.
Yeah, it was a good palate cleanser. I will say this is the second match of the night where one competitor was hindered by a major rib injury because we had that Ricochet doing that as well.
They're just moving up the body.
Yeah, grabbing his ribs every time, and then Lyra was doing the same thing in this one. I was like, okay, there's a little again copy pasting on the injuries, and I know they both had that. Braun Breaker had speared Ricochet, and then of course Lyra got destroyed by the Annihilator. But it just kind of felt odd that you had two competitors kind of doing the whole my ribs the whole time during their matchups. But all in all was good.
It was fun. It was a fun match. And then after that, we had a little. It wasn't the Attitude Era, but we had Rey Mysterio versus Carlito, which was interesting to see.
Better late than never.
Yeah, but you know what? Both men are very well talented, and they both put up a good match. So this was a fun match to see. I think they kept emphasizing for the first time in almost 20 years, But I mean, they both look great. I mean, both men can still go, obviously. So it was a good match. Nothing too crazy, but it was a fun match. Rey Mysterio picks up the victory after hitting the 619. To kind of get his retribution over Carlito. So now I just wonder what happens now with Carlito, because I know he was trying to get into Judgment Day. He was trying to have them get his back, which of course Finn Balor did come out to try and help him out, but Rey Mysterio took him out. But it was only Finn Balor, which was interesting, because then backstage they're like, well, where's JD? And he's like, he's running away from Braun. And then you see, like, I think that one of the point you see JD talking to Liv Morgan, and then Braun's like, there you are, and he goes hobbling over, and it's just like. But anywho, it was a fun match, a little classic, a little nostalgia there between Carlito and Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, it was good. I thought it was interesting that you had Damian Priest come out once it was all over with and just wreck everybody. Yeah, doing the whole he's like, I'm taking matters into my own hands, and so he came out, and then he took out Dragon Lee and he hit the South of Heaven on Rey Mysterio, and it was like so. Is he helping Carlito? Is Carlito going to be in the Judgment Day? Like, is this your point of, hey, look, guys, I can handle business, and I'll do it myself, because he's been telling him to handle Braun Strowman this whole time. So I thought that was interesting. It does help with his credibility. He was able to kind of go out there and dominate everybody. Yeah, and I think they chose the right people. Trying to hammer home he's the world champion. Yeah, so that was interesting, because they keep doing this will they won't they thing with Carlito in the Judgment Day, but. We'll see. We'll see how it pans out.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. After that, we had what I was looking forward to, which was Bronson Reed versus Otis, which on paper should have been a great. That should have probably been match of the night with all the because not because they're just big guys, but because they both move extremely well in the ring, and so they're both very. I mean, they're very agile for big guys. They can fly, they can spin, they can do all the good stuff. And unfortunately, it fell victim to the storyline of Chad Gable trying to overcoach Otis and trying to stop him from doing the Caterpillar, which eventually led to his demise. He, it delayed him, and again, Reed was able to take advantage. Hit the tsunami, which is always a devastating move because he's just flying in the air at full force. Yeah. It's really a splash, but because of how big he is, obviously it's the tsunami. But it was always cool to see. But yeah, so Bronson picks up the victory. But then after that, we had like an awkward. I would say the most awkward fallout there, because Chad was like yelling at them and getting mad at them, and then starts taking off his belt, and then tells Otis to grab the ropes, which sounded dirty. At first he was like, grab the rope, and Otis is like, I don't wanna. It was awkward. Maxine Dupree just looked hesitant. Yeah, I'm like, oh God, what are we doing? I'm like, what? And so of course they're just standing there. He's like, I want
everything
you
about
to
this
watch.
Was strange.
It was, and of course Maxine Dupree hesitantly waits, and you could tell she was trying to time it, because obviously it's a timing thing to stop him, right? He has to like cock back to like go, and then she stops him, and then he like gets mad at her and tells him to get out of his ring, and then of course Sami Zayn comes in for the save for Otis to stop it, and then ends up getting beat down by Chad, and then Chad pretty much just leaves him there and tells Otis, come on, and Otis just looks at him and looks at Chad, looks at him, and then walks out. You kind of almost thought that this was where Otis was going to come out, because the whole crowd was just chanting for him to just do it, just finally do it. But I think they're holding off on that. I think they're holding off for a bigger. I think they're just kind of holding it for now, but the crowd's gonna blow up when he actually does finally turn on Chad.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's going on too long though. Like this, like there's only so many segments of when are you going to fight back, Otis? And he goes, and then walks off. It's like I feel like they should have pulled the trigger on this already. But
this would have been a good time.
This would have been a good time to do it. This whole segment was like the most awkward for me. Chad Gable's promo delivery is also awkward, because right before this, where he comes out and goes, well, look who it is. Goldilocks and the 3 brain cells. It's like nobody talks like that in real life. Yeah. It's like say it like a normal person. He sounds very scripted,
like an 80s jock,
like an 80s trash. Heel. Yeah, 80s. Yeah, it's like an 80s heel. It's like, dude, come on, man, like, get with the times. So that delivery always seems a little weird. And this also, and I know it's just. I know it's pro wrestling. Okay. I mean, before I get just torn apart for saying this.
Yeah.
And I know it's not real and I know it's scripted. However, because it is scripted, I feel like there should just be more consistency with some of these things. So Braun Breaker runs out and spears somebody, and Adam Pearce has everybody in security out going, this is unacceptable. This is crazy. Anytime Braun goes to the ring, a whole squad of people go out, and Adam Pearce is like, what are you doing? Yeah. Otis is about to get publicly flogged in front of the crowd, and Adam Pearce is nowhere to be found. He's like, that's fine. Yeah, public beating, public flogging
it's just
in the
a little
ring.
Discipline.
It's okay. This is off Academy business. I'm not really worried about it. Come on. If Adam Pearce should be like, hey, wait, hold on, Chad Gable. This is a little inappropriate here. But of course, he's nowhere to be found. But then he'll pop up. It just depends. Like Nia Jax will come out at some point, and everyone's like, oh, Nia Jax. So I just like to see more consistency with, if the GM is going to insert themselves into situations, this is probably one that he'd be back in Gorilla looking on the monitor going, oh, whoa, I should probably put a stop to this. This probably is inappropriate. But I digress. And I was hoping that Otis was going to finally turn here, and he didn't. So I guess Clash of the Castle. Is Chad Gable wrestling at Clash of the Castle?
Not
I'm
yet.
Trying to think of when's the next.
I think they're setting
when's the next
up.
event. Yeah, they've got to be setting something up at some point. And we'll see if they finally pull the trigger on this. But it's going. There's only so much of Otis doing wah, and then walking away with his head down, and everybody's sad. They got to do it soon.
Yeah, and I think they're probably holding it because they probably want it to be a SummerSlam feud. Which, I mean, that would be the time, but I don't know if there's that much to build, because they've already built so much already, to where I mean, they could technically get away with like doing a hold up until even, I would say, 3 weeks before, just to kind of give, because Otis isn't also not very good on the mic. He's not. Yeah. So I think they're trying to avoid him having to give promos leading up to the match. But I think they could probably do just fine with Otis turning on Chad now, and then just releasing his frustration to like jobbers and just destroying people in the ring, to kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, he's pissed off and now he's going to just like unload. But I don't know. I mean, they probably, I don't know maybe they just don't know how they're going to want to do it. But I think the time is ticking, and they really do need to, because then the crowd's behind it right now. They're super hot for it. But, you know, if you give it enough time, they'll probably get over it, and you don't want that to happen either.
Agreed.
So after that, of course, we had Liv Morgan defending her title in the cage match against Becky Lynch, which on paper I thought this was going to be a great match. I was excited for it, and it was a pretty good match. I was happy with it up until the ending, of course, but going into it, you know, you had both women come out, and it was just, you know, a heated rivalry, obviously, because Becky's pissed off. She lost her title to Liv the way she lost it, so she's trying to redeem herself and just going at it, you know. And up until, I would say, before I knew Becky's contract is expiring, I kind of was like, I hope Becky wins. But then I realized her contract's expiring soon, so I'm like, maybe this is her final do. And so, you know, she put up a great fight. There was a brawling. You had, of course, Liv doing the typical heel thing and trying to, like, as she takes her down, trying to climb out of the ring as quickly as possible to just get out of it, which is a nice touch, because that's what heels do, right? They just want to end the match and they want to get over with. Of course, I don't know, she's trying to she uses the rope. I actually saw that she used the ropes to get the disarmor in, which actually was a nice touch of her using the ropes in a fair manner. It was good to see that as well, trying to inflict more pain. What else was there? There was Liv Morgan had a pretty vicious looking power bomb. That was pretty cool to see. But then, of course, Dom comes out, makes himself known. He comes hobbling down to the ring, and, you know, unpins the door and like opens it. And so trying to help out Becky Lynch, telling her like, "Oh, Becky, come on, crawl out. I got the door open for you." And Becky, of course, looking so confused. Like, I think at one point she looked like she was about to give in and just say, "All right, screw it. I'm gonna take the victory." But then what happens? Here comes the
and
Judgment
why wouldn't
Day.
you? But
Yeah. Yeah, of course, you're getting help. Hell yeah. But,
yeah.
of course, Judgment Day's out here. And then Braun's like, there you are. And then he comes down to get JD because JD and Finn are like, what are you doing? Why are you down here? JD, knowing damn well he's being chased by Braun, is still at ringside, making himself visible where all the cameras are. Then you just hear Braun, there you are. And here he comes, like charging down, hobbling. But then his knee's all of a sudden better because then he starts steaming around the ring to do his little train hit, and he takes out Dom, which Dom in turn hits the door, which in turn hits Becky, which again is very cartoonish because it's like a domino effect.
Yeah, like, this is the other Looney Tunes moment. Yeah.
And then Liv Morgan, of course, not stupid. She saw the opportunity and was like, screw it, I'm crawling out. And she did. And she crawled out of the ring, took the victory. Of course, Becky, like, confused again. Dom, like, oh my God, I didn't mean to do that. But did he or didn't he? Because afterwards, he was on the ramp. Liv Morgan was celebrating. And she just went right up to Dom, and she's like looking at him. And then you saw it coming a mile away. U.S. cameras cut off, but I got to see it.
Yep.
And so Liv lays a big one on Dom. It looked like he was trying to fight it, but I mean, let's be honest.
But
if
he wasn't.
Really wanted to, he could have just pushed her
I was
away.
like,
I mean, Liv's not very. It's not like it was Nia. Like if it was Nia,
step backwards. Yeah.
Like if it was Nia, I'd be like, all right, yeah, dude, you're not getting out of that. But I mean, it's. Or even if it was Jade or Bianca, like, yeah, you're not getting out of that.
She's like a foot shorter. It's like she has to like launch herself.
She grabbed
like,
him.
Put your hand on her forehead. Yeah.
And I was like, all right. And then, so of course, she lays a big old kiss, and he looks pissed, and she's smiling because she knows what she's doing. So now we discuss what will be happening going forward. Is this going to be the way to unveil that Dom's been behind it, like I've been saying, because him and Liv have teamed up on that, or is Liv trying to get her way into the Judgment Day to take Rhea's place? Kind of like that whole, like, I want to say it's almost like Shakespeare, like, where, like, she's kind of infiltrating, her way in and taking the throne that Rhea once sat on, which would make for an even bigger pop when Rhea comes back. Either way, everyone's going to lose their marbles when Rhea Ripley comes back and you hear her music hit. The crowd, wherever they're at, the crowd's going to lose it. But I like the story building on this one. The cage match had potential to steal the show. I think it was doing a good job up until the end. And I don't mind the Dom interference because it furthers the storyline. What bothers me is the whole, like, JD's down there knowing damn well he's being chased down by Braun, which it telegraphed it, right? Like, we saw JD, we're like, oh, crap, Braun's going to come out. Sure enough, here comes Braun. Yeah. And he starts making his run, and Dominic's still holding the door there. And I'm like, yeah, dude, you're going to get laid out. And sure enough, boom, boom, boom. It was kind of like, But, they have to do it somehow. Somebody has to take the price. But one last thing before I let you jump in there. At the end, they showed a picture, I want to say, I think Becky tweeted or posted a picture, her walking out of the arena and said to be continued or something to that extent, which implies either she's going to take a hiatus for a while or she's not renewing her contract with WWE, because neither has been confirmed. Yeah. We may have just seen the last match of Becky Lynch in WWE. She may go to AEW. I don't know if she will, because Seth is a big WWE guy. I mean, he's talked so much trash about AEW. I don't see Seth going with her. But it doesn't have to. He really doesn't have to. He has a good thing going to WWE. Becky may feel like she's ran her course through WWE. I don't think so. I think there's so much more for her to do there. But, maybe that's how she feels. I don't know. We'll see what happens with Becky. If this is the last time we saw her, I would love to thank her for all she's done in WWE. She's been amazing. I've always been a fan of Becky Lynch from her NXT days with the steampunk gimmick and everything. It was always a lot of fun. She always put her body into that ring, her soul into that ring. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I don't know, but time will tell.
Yeah, time will certainly tell. I feel like she will re-sign with WWE. Mm-hmm. Like, I think she's going to take some time off. Like, give it a little bit of time. I'm sure there'll be a lot of teasing, a lot of speculation, and then I think she'll end up coming back. Just because, Seth's there. Obviously, she's been a huge star for WWE. She's built her career here. And so I think she'll continue with that. But you never know. My thoughts on the main event, though, I will say the match started with only 15 minutes left. So when I was watching it, I was like, Man, we're gonna do a steel cage match in the final.
Well, the match didn't
minutes.
start. The intros start. The entrances started. Yeah. So the match didn't start till like 10 minutes left in the show.
Yeah, I was like, this is gonna be a short steel cage match, and so I was a little like, about that. What we got to see was pretty good, but up until I hated the finish, and it was for that same reason of it's very, very Looney Tunes. Like there's a few things here. So JD, first off, to your point about is Liv going to infiltrate the Judgment Day? Yeah, you've had her with the interactions with Dom, but they also had that JD was talking to her too earlier.
Oh yeah.
Like, what are you doing? So I'm like, okay, why would JD be talking to her? Yeah. So that I feels like is a little bit of the seeds planted for that potentially. But JD's been running from Braun the entire night.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't Braun just go back to the clubhouse? Because they already announced everybody get back to the clubhouse. I'm like, well, Braun, go stand at the clubhouse and wait.
It's not like it's a room.
Back.
It's
like,
it's some boxes in a hallway. It's not.
It's the boxes in a hallway, but you know where the boxes in the hallway are too. So just go camp out there, wait for JD to come back, and like Braun was like a stampeding elephant that didn't know what to do. And then he comes and stampedes in at the end, which they may as well have been playing like Benny Hill music with all the chase scenes every 5 seconds. And then the whole, like you can see it coming a mile away, and he comes around and he hits Dom, and then like the door swings and hits Becky. I was waiting for like the boing, like all the Looney Tunes sound effects. It was just, it felt cheap to me, and it felt stupid, and I didn't like it. If anything, Becky should be mad at Braun, not Dominic, for all of that happening, because it was really Braun Strowman's fault that it went down that way. Because they started the match so late, they ran out of time on the U.S. broadcast, because I was watching it on USA, and they cut the camera right as Liv and Dom were standing in the aisleway and looking at each other, and then it just cuts. And so I wasn't even aware there was a kiss until like the next day. I saw something on social media, and I was like, wait a minute, I didn't see that. And I went back and rewound it. I was like, oh, they ran out of time, and then they cut it. But if you were watching somewhere else, you had the chance to see it. Or if you watched it on Hulu, you had a chance to see it. So that for me was like the bummer of it. The main event was too short. The ending was comical. And then the biggest moment as far as storylines go from the night was cut off from our broadcast. So yeah. I was just like, it was a sour taste in my mouth for a show that I thought was very mediocre this week.
It really was. I mean, I personally give it like a C minus. I was not a fan of the episode. I feel that there's so much more that could have been done to build different storylines. Otis should have already turned on Chad. I feel that there was... I feel like there's a lot of like just screwy finishes that I just wasn't a fan of. The whole Braun thing, you're right. I mean, just go wait for him there. You might as well have had him pretend to dress up in a wig as Damian Priest. I mean, you might as well have. I don't know.
Have JD put on a dress and go, I'm JD's sister.
Yeah,
JD.
You might as well.
He's like,
I mean,
well, where's JD? Well. It's like if you're gonna do that, go full stupid. If you're gonna, and I like stupid wrestling, but this is a little stupid for me.
And it's no jab at Braun. I like Braun Strowman. I like his monster among monsters gimmick. I love the abilities that he has. Like he's a good big guy wrestler, right? Like a good powerful wrestler. Yeah. And I think they just kind of let him. I mean, maybe it's his idea too. I don't know, but again, I was not a fan. I was not a fan of. I think for the most part we could have done away. I think it would have just been better just to let him just annihilate JD, and just JD's out of the picture for the night because he's just decimated by Braun. He's in the trainers getting taped up or something. Honestly, JD showing up in a full body cast after the match with Braun would have been more comical than this. So have somebody from like one of the local guys in like a WWE official shirt just kind of wheeling him around. That would have been funnier, but
it would have.
I was a little disappointed, but oh well.
Yeah. Oh well. D show for me on SmackDown. We had a little copy paste segment to open up the show too. It was the crowning of the Queen of the Ring. So we crowned the King on Raw to open. Queen of the Ring, Nia Jax came down. And then she did the whole heel thing. I actually thought she was, for the very brief time that she talked, I thought she was pretty good. It was what we expected from Nia. She's going to be very irritating. And she's immediately called out Bayley and said, your queen is demanding your presence at the ring now because she's the queen. So did the official call out for the Bayley SummerSlam match. as Bailey was walking out to answer the call, she got ambushed from behind by Piper Niven and Chelsea Green. And then this is it was similar to the whole Drew McIntyre thing, because they were like, you don't have to worry about Bailey at SummerSlam. By the time you get to SummerSlam, I'll be the champ. So it was very similar. Well, that Piper Niven was going to be the champ specifically. And then basically Nia's like, I don't care who's the champ. They're getting annihilated with some nice brand synergy there. And then she just hightailed it out of there, and that was it. Segment was over.
That was, I mean, nothing really much to it. I mean.
No, it was very straightforward. There wasn't much, like, that's basically everything that happened. And it was really a copy-paste segment from Raw.
I agree. I mean, nothing really to write home about.
Yeah, I mean, it was what it was. And then we immediately went to Nick Aldis, and as we were going to Nick Aldis's office, we got the QR code and then a hello and a goodbye and some screenshots. So they're getting a little bit more deliberate with the teasing for the Wyatt Six, or however this is going to end up shaking out. So they flashed that up. And then AJ Styles was there, and he just asked for some time to address his future. And Nick's like, "You got something you want to tell me?" And he's like, "Well, I only want to say it once, so I'll tell everybody later." Wink, wink. And he granted him the time. And so this was kind of done as a tease for, is AJ Styles going to retire? But you knew he wasn't. So this is where the way that they structured this, you knew there were going to be shenanigans here, because he didn't come out and say anything. You've seen enough social media interviews with AJ Styles to kind of know what his career plans are. So you're like, this is clearly going to, at least for me, I was like, this is totally going to be a fake out. He's not actually retiring here. But it was set up to make everyone think that later on in the show, AJ Styles was going to retire. So they set the table for that. And then right after that was DIY. Well, Tommaso Ciampa, accompanied by Johnny Gargano versus Austin Theory, specifically accompanied by Grayson Waller. I really enjoyed this match until the end. It was a really good match. I don't think Austin Theory gets nearly enough credit.
No, he doesn't.
Really great in the ring. He's really great at selling in the ring specifically too. He looks like $1 million. He's a solid heel. He's good on the mic. Sometimes he's a little overbearing in his heelness. And seems immature, but I think that's the whole point of his character. So
exactly.
I really enjoyed it. His chemistry with Ciampa is great. They've had matches before, so I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it up until the finish, because the finish was odd to me, because at one point you had Grayson Waller like overhearing Wade Barrett on commentary, and then he turned around and was like, "What did you say?" And then he's yelling about how Gargano held Austin Theory back, and that Austin Theory's relevant again because of Grayson Waller, which somehow Austin Theory heard, and then turned around and was like, "What did you say?" And then because he was distracted, Ciampa hit the surprise roll up, which is my least favorite.
The most devastating move in all of sports entertainment.
Absolutely devastating. And I was like, okay, like this felt a little flat. The matchup was done to tease them having a tag team matchup, because DIY is the number one contenders at this point. So they're kind of working towards this match with them. So they had to do a singles match. But I'm like, so you're already doing this vague. We're sowing the seeds of division between Waller and Theory already, and they haven't been champions very long. It felt a little out of left field for me, and it was this kind of a silly way to, let's have a distraction finish so that we can kind of have everybody save face here. And I really enjoyed this matchup up until that kind of confusing storytelling at the end. So I was like, I don't know what you thought.
Yeah, I mean, I was a fan of the match. I think it went well. I mean, again, you got two great competitors in Tommaso Ciampa and Austin Theory. I agree, he doesn't get as much credit as he should. I think you're totally dropping the titles to DIY. I mean, they're just kind of right at this point. They're just kind of running through the typical standard procedure, of them not being on the same page and dissent and all that stuff. But I mean, but during the match though, it looked good because again, Austin Theory was targeting what body part? The neck. So they were targeting the neck. Like, oh yeah, Tommaso Ciampa has a surgically repaired neck. I'm like, yeah, like a year ago. I mean, or however long it was. Like, you don't just all of a sudden it hurts again. I mean, I've had surgery on my knee and I'm fine. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe the neck's different. I'm not a wrestler. I don't know. But Anywho, yeah, targeting the neck. He did have a pretty vicious looking neck breaker off the ring apron, which was actually pretty cool looking. I liked that one a lot. That was actually really, really good. He also had another move where he got Tommaso Ciampa with like one leg, like a figure four kind of, while he was standing, and like flipped him up and neck breaker on his knee, which was actually pretty cool. I thought that was really good looking move there. That was actually really, really cool. So, yeah, I mean, it was an okay match. I hated the roll-up win, especially Tommaso Ciampa, fully capable of winning, but I get it, you know. Yeah. And then, of course, they said next week it's going to be Johnny Gargano against Grayson Waller, which we know is going to be the same thing again. It's going to be like a screwy finish or, you know, whatever. But there's probably Grayson Waller's probably going to get the win or something.
They got to kill time before the tag matches. That's all it's in.
And that's fine. I mean, you know WWE's MO. They're going to do each individual against individual. Then they'll do like a tag team together of some sort. And then they'll go back to like individual.
It'd be like a 6-man tag where they're each going to add like one extra person. Yeah. And the extra, so the something where it's not both teams going against each other.
It's going to be JD McDonough teaming with us. I'm just playing. And then Braun Strowman. I don't know.
It could be, actually. You never know. Right after this was Naomi going to the locker room or going to Nick Aldis's office to try to set up the main event, which was going to be Bayley and Naomi versus Piper and Green, obviously. An awkward Blair Davenport sighting with do you know who I am? You will. Teaser from Blair Davenport. And then you had LA Knight pop in immediately to ask if AJ was retiring, and it's like, well, find out like everybody else. And then he asked about Logan Paul setting up a U.S. Championship rivalry with them, because right after the break, they interviewed him like, what did you say to Nick? And he's like, well, he's not here. It's like, of course Logan Paul's not there. And then he was talking about, essentially calling a shot for the U.S. Championship. Carmelo Hayes came out and messed up a little bit. For me, this is great because Carmelo Hayes started talking trash, and then he asked LA Knight, why would LA want to face you when there's a first-round pick right here? And then LA Knight didn't even miss a beat and just said, well, if I face myself, I'd be looking in the mirror. Get your name right.
Yeah, I love it.
I loved it. I was like, he didn't miss a beat at all.
Nope.
Like
He's so quick-witted with that, yeah.
And he was so fast with it, and it was great. And you got to see the look of Carmelo's face where he was like he knew he messed up, and he's like, oh, I just got burned. That didn't look good. But that whole segment was fun, and I do hope that they continue to build the Carmelo Hayes versus LA Knight rivalry, because just the promos alone will be fun. Yeah. And the match will be great. So I enjoyed this, even with the flub. The flub made it funnier because LA Knight didn't let him off the hook for it.
Because it was LA Knight. You know, I mean, he's not going to let something like that slide. And, you know, and again, I love seeing that because it adds the more realness to it, where he's like, I got you. He's like, you messed up. Now I'm going to make you look stupid. I loved it. It was great.
Yeah. And then after this, the next match we got was poor Apollo Crews, just turning into a jobber. Apollo Crews versus Andrade, which was obviously solid because Apollo Crews is really talented and Andrade is really talented too. I just feel bad that Apollo Crews has now been relegated to basically jobber status at this point.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it was like an odd subtext of Angel Garza was there going, hey, Andrade, I know we still want you in Legado del Fantasma, and
even though he had a
we're
match
going to let that all slide. Yeah, and he goes, we're going to let WrestleMania slide. And I was like, okay, this seems a little odd. I put in a good word for you. And Andrade, of course, picked up the win. And then Santos Escobar and the rest of the crew came out, and basically Andrade just blew him off, and the plot thickened. So it's like, okay, like what did you expect? He doesn't want to be part of your group, obviously. So this just felt like filler for everybody. But the match itself was solid.
Yeah, it was. I agree. I mean, the match was good. It wasn't anything to write home about. Apollo's always looking great in the ring, of course, but it was just interesting to see Angel Garza there kind of cheering on Andrade, and Andrade just being like, dude, what are you doing here? Like, he's like, I don't want to be a part. And it was awkward to see the Legado just stand at the entryway like, yeah, good job. And I was like, what are you talking about? I mean, I guess we did get a match between Angel Garza and Apollo for next week, which he'll more than likely lose, unfortunately. I hope Apollo wins. Yeah. Because it's a shame. I mean, he's such a great competitor. He's so athletic, and he's just good in the ring, you know? I mean, I think he's just fell victim to just bad gimmicks, you know, and now I don't know.
But yeah, bad gimmicks, but still just physically very talented. So like he's always going to find a place. It just feels bad that he's going out there making other people look good. But yeah, we'll see. Or maybe he'll pick up the win. Maybe Andrade
This
will
will be his
interfere
uptick.
or be out there and distract and kind of help start the trajectory up. But we'll see. After this, you had the Bloodline backstage with Paul and Solo talking about strategy, and Paul talking about there's too much violence. The violence we did before was perfectly reasonable with Roman Reigns, but now it's unreasonable, which I'm like, okay, that's debatable. And he said the Bloodline needs to have Cody Rhodes in check, and Solo said, we have him in check. And then Paul said,
But he don't
who's
even
we?
know
And
it.
I'm like, yeah, he doesn't even know it yet. And he's like, who's we? And I was like, AJ Styles? Like, who is, like, what are you implying here? That's right. I couldn't figure this one out unless he's just talking about Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. That's who we are. Like, it was one of those. I'm not quite sure why Paul would go, who's we? Because there's a million people that Solo's been working with. But I feel like, yeah, that's a teaser for later. And then this kind of went right into Kevin Owens calling out the Bloodline. And with Paul Heyman came out to cut a promo. The "We Want Roman" chants were really loud, which is great. That's continued, and it's continued to kind of grow with a fever pitch. And then we just had this kind of odd rant back and forth between Kevin Owens and Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
And Paul Heyman's like doing the whole, please, I implore you, don't mess with these guys. There were some silly lines in here too, like, you know, me and Roman used to run background checks on the members of the Bloodline. These guys didn't pass the background check, but apparently Solo Sikoa does not have a background check policy. Like, that was a little. Yeah, I'm sure Roman was running background checks on everybody, but fine, whatever. Just trying to hammer the point home that these are not men to be trifled with. They're just thugs. Their credit scores are terrible. So Paul does this whole thing and really hammers it home, and then asks KO to back off. And then KO was like, "They've already thrown everything at me, and I keep coming at them." So. Then Paul gives himself a hernia, literally doing like the little kid fit of, why won't anyone listen to me? And then accidentally hits KO with the microphone. And then before KO can beat him down, Solo and Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa all come down to the ring to get KO. And then all of a sudden the Street Profits pop up because they got a match coming up next. So it just all happened to work out with the timing, which it's funny how this happened on Raw too, with Braun Strowman just popping up going, oh, by the way, I've got a match. It was like, Street Profits are here. By the way, we've got a match, and that match is starting right now. And then they moved into Street Profits versus Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. I enjoyed, actually, I think this is my match of the night. I really enjoyed it.
It was mine.
It was extremely solid through and through. Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa are obviously great. Have great chemistry. They've been a very successful tag team outside of WWE, which is also nice that they continue to mention their careers and in commentary. Corey Graves touched on that as well. I thought Tama Tonga looked a little out of place in the singles matches in the King of the Ring tournament, but he definitely shines in tag matches. So I thought that was fantastic. And then Tama hit his nameless finisher still. The finisher with no name. Hit it, which I'm still waiting for them. Like, just dub it something. They call it
it's a flatliner, but I don't know what they want to call it.
It's a flatliner. But like they just, and every time he hits it, it's just like, okay, that's probably it. And then the match ends, and it's like, yeah, that's definitely it. He's hitting his finisher. But they never call it out. But I loved it. Match of the night. I know it was your match of the night as well.
Yeah, it was my match of the night, and I'm going to go on record in saying this. I refuse to call them the Tongas. I think it's stupid. I hate that they're trying to dub them that. Let's call them who they are. They are the Gorillas of Destiny. I think they're just worried about putting that on the shirt because it's G-O-D, and Roman Reigns has greatness on a different level, G-O-D. So, but yeah, they're Gorillas of Destiny, and those that watch New Japan know them very, very well and how brutal they can be, and they showed it here, and I like that they did that. I like that they showed their tag team finesse, and they are an amazing tag team. Definitely future tag team champions in my book. Can't wait for them to come out in the full face paint. That was actually pretty cool too, back with their Bullet Club days. But yeah, I always call them Gorillas of Destiny. So anyways, Gorillas of Destiny look amazing. They Street Profits put up a hell of a fight. Montez Ford looking more and more jacked. Him and AJ must be training together. And it looks like they're getting Angelo Dawkins too, because he's kind of starting to get into shape too. But again, both teams were very, very, very well versed with one another, and they just put on a great match. I was watching this and having so much fun with it. match of the night in my book. Hitting I loved the touch. Normally the surprise tags are super obvious, like the hidden tags when they're trying to like be sneaky, but this one works so well because they let them run through their whole finish, and he kind of still stood like hanging low, which is again great tag awareness and timing and all that good stuff. And so when it came time to Montez to hit that frog splash, Montez hits a beautiful frog splash. Again, Eddie Guerrero is always going to have the best frog splash in the game in my book because I am biased, but Montez Ford gets so much elevation. It looks so nice when he hits it, and he did. And then by the time he realized that wasn't the legal man, here comes Tama Tonga to hit his flatliner finish, and it looked so good because the way he just he like just sprinted in, grabbed him, boom, hit him, and pinned him, and it looked clean, And I think that looked great. It was a great way to end the match, and I think they deserve a victory because they got to put over how aggressive and how brutal these guys are. So they have to they had to get some victories going. So I think this was a good look for them.
Yeah, I thought so too. And as far as frog splashes go, I love me some Eddie Guerrero. I do. Yeah. But I've always been partial to RVD's 5-star.
RVD,
Rob Van Dam, man, he could get some serious elevation and extension on that frog. So I was always like, the 5-star is just so good. But yeah, great match of the night. And then we got a Jaden Bianca Belair sighting, excuse me, with Indy Hartwell confronting them, and they set up a match between, I think next week they already teased it's going to be Jade Cargill versus Indy Hartwell, which should just be a squash, but who knows? We'll see how that plays out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she should run through her, and it shouldn't be like Braun Strowman in a 2 commercial break match. Bayley and so main event. Well, this is the last match of the night. The main event was really AJ Styles, but the Bayley and Naomi versus Piper Niven and Chelsea Green. It was okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, I thought it was fine for what it was. Green and Niven actually picked up the win, which I was a little surprised by. After essentially Niven's splashed on both Naomi and Green, and then kind of pulled Green's body over her, which is always what they do. It's like Piper Niven kind of drags them across the finish line every single time. So this was a lot of that same stuff where she pulled her over for the cover, and then essentially Green was like surprised that she won. She was like, "Wait, I won?" because she had been like taken out also. So it was fine. Like, I wasn't really looking forward to this main event when they teased it anyway. It was what it was. They did a little bit to try to. This feels like it was more done also with the finish to build up Piper a little bit more, so that Bayley obviously didn't take the pinfall. Naomi did. Unfortunately, Naomi always, it seems like she's the one taking the pinfalls all the time. But this is to build up Piper because they're obviously building towards Piper and Bayley, make her look strong. That's fine. I'm not sure what you thought.
I mean, it was okay. I wasn't, it wasn't anything. I mean, and we knew that. We knew that going in. It's really, like you said, to build up Piper Niven, and she looked dominant, of course, as usual. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to see Nia Jax versus Piper Niven. That'd be kind of a interesting match there. But it looks like Bayley teaming up with Naomi. I have a feeling this was done intentionally to have Naomi take the pin because Naomi's the one that set up the match. Naomi's the one that asked for it, and so I think this may kind of be a way, if they wanted to, they could kind of have Bayley turn on Naomi on this one, because she could be like, "Why would you do this if I had just gotten hurt, and now you want me to go in and do," like, you know what I mean? Like, but I don't know. They didn't show anything backstage between them. I'm glad Bayley didn't take the pin because she's the champ. She really shouldn't be taking the pin. But of course, going into this match, you kind of knew that Piper needed to look strong, and again, just the comic. I don't want to say comic relief, but it is kind of comical that every time Piper just does something, she just kind of drags Chelsea Green over it, and it was same thing here. She pretty much takes her out, drags her over, and is like, "All right, there you go, take the win," and then walks away. So it was okay. Nothing really crazy. So
yeah, it was fine. I mean, it was what it was, and then as I had said, that there wasn't. I mean, this wasn't the main event. The main event was the AJ Styles announcement, which was the last thing that closed out the show. They didn't leave a huge amount of time for this one, and I was like, I hope this doesn't get preempted before something happens with our luck. But AJ Styles came out. It was, so for me at least, this was obvious it was going to be much like the Mark Henry retirement fake out, except it wasn't like a Mark Henry retirement fake out heel turn. Like, AJ Styles has been a heel this whole time. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, for a day or for half a day, he's a face now. And he's like, everyone doing the whole, it's been a great 26 years competing. And, he kind of realized that he's going to be at the back of the line, and, he can't essentially climb that ladder back up to face Cody Rhodes again. He had asked Cody Rhodes to come out, and, so he could essentially do a passing of the torch thing kind of with Cody is what they're trying to do. He was accompanied by Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. And so the OC was back out there together, and they do the whole toot sweet thing. And then what I thought was kind of silly is he goes, I just made this decision because we just had the graduation party, or high school graduation party for my son, and I hosted it, and then it spurred my desire to be a phenomenal father more than a phenomenal wrestler. And I was thinking about it going, your kid's just graduated high school. He's gone off to college. What are you talking about? Like, you're going to start being his dad now? Like,
well, he has like the four other he has tatted on his ribs.
He's got other kids too. But I was like, that was your whole thing, is like, hey. And then he goes, how many of these graduations I missed? I'm like, well, he's like an older kid, so none, because you'd hosted his graduation party. Like, as he was saying it, I was like, this is clearly scripted. Also, the way that he was saying it too, like, it wasn't like, oh, when someone actually retires, they're coming out.
Yeah.
They're kind of, you can tell it's a sincere promo. So for me, this was telegraphed really, really hard, and you could tell that something was going to happen here. And so, Cody came out and did the whole thing, congratulating him, and then he holds up his arms. And this was what was more obvious too, when they start going to like the four sides, and I was like, he's going to get clothesline one of these times. And they're like, oh, hold up. And then like on the third one, AJ clotheslines him, and it was like, it was all a ruse. He just wants to beat him up. And then he essentially, I guess the OC's back together now because they were helping keep everybody at bay that ran down to stop it.
Which is funny.
And AJ, which I'm like, so you guys are all fine with each other. And then he hits the Styles Clash off of the steel steps onto the floor. And then it cut to, they were basically out of time. So as soon as that happened, got the camera in his face, and then it cut off. I was half expecting, if this had been on USA Network, you would have seen like the first arm raise and the second arm raise, and the camera would have cut away before he clotheslined him, and you would have just thought, I guess AJ retired, good for him, and that's how it would have closed out. So it was kind of obvious. I will say this though, I'm not a huge fan of kind of the stop-start rivalry with these two. Because if you wanted to build something longer, I was excited when they teased, coming off of WrestleMania, we're going to do a rivalry with Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles. And I was like, cool. But then it turned into, for 3 weeks, like, we're going to shotgun this. We're going to go straight into Backlash. Cody's going to win, and then it's over. And I was like, that's just like, you guys didn't really play this one out. You didn't give them a chance to really build a rivalry. And then you next shotgunned all the way through with Logan Paul and did this thing. And now you're going, we're doing the AJ Styles thing again immediately. Like, why all the stop-start booking? Why not have given that time to really play out and breathe and build a rivalry? There wasn't any shock for me here. It's like he's been a heel this whole time. He's doing what heels do. We knew he wasn't actually ready to retire. Yeah. So it just felt a little flat, and it feels like they don't know what to do with Cody. And how is Cody so gullible? Cody gets the wool pulled over him more than anybody else. Like, I've never seen somebody in the initial run of their championship look like such a stooge all the time. Everything is like, Cody got surprised by that. Cody got ambushed by that. Cody didn't realize that was happening. Cody got beat to the punch here. I've never seen them make somebody look so freaking gullible all the time. So maybe because they're trying to play him as like this ultra noble-hearted babyface.
Yeah.
But this continues, at least in my eyes, to diminish Cody in the way that they just make him look like a chump all the time with the way that it's booked. And then he ends up hitting 3 crossroads and doing all this other stuff to win later. So I wasn't a huge fan of this just because it seemed so obvious. But what were your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, it was obvious he's not going to retire. I mean, because he never said it, and Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson accompanying him to ring. I say it's funny because, now Nick Aldis comes down with all the security, and you mean to tell me that those two men can hold off, like, it looked like there was like 8 or 10 guys on the ring, like in the ramp. Like, it's just 2 of them. I mean, don't get me wrong; those are tough guys. They are built up as tough guys, and they are built up as brawlers and stuff, which is cool. But it was just kind of weird. They're just there like security at a concert. Like, hey, you got to stay there. But it is what it is. AJ,
nobody tried to push past them. They just got to sit there.
Exactly. But AJ always being a great heel in doing that and pulling one over on Cody. Again, pretty much pulling the whole mental game, right? Like, kind of like, okay, well, I got to go to the back of the line, so I'm going to goad him in to just giving me another shot because I'm going to piss him off by making him look stupid. And that's exactly what he did. And I think that's going to be the angle that he's going to take because he knows how to get under Cody's skin. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe they'll have a better build. Maybe that'll be the SummerSlam feud because you have the Damian Priest defending his title at SummerSlam against Gunther. You really don't have anybody to put up against Cody right now. So that'll probably be the match. But maybe this time we'll have more room to breathe, more room to actually build something with it. I think it'll be a good build, and I think it'll be a great match. Obviously, both men are amazing. But I mean, yeah, you knew it wasn't going to happen, because when people retire, there's like a million video packages throughout the night. There's all kinds of people interviewed and talking about how great they are and all that good stuff. But the crowd was into it. Cody, as far as Cody being pulled along for mental games and stuff, I think it is that they're trying to build him up as this just truly noble guy who wears his heart on his sleeve and is a man of the people and is just a nice guy. And I think this is being done intentional so that they can eventually have him kind of shed that, and I think they did interview I think they interviewed his wife afterwards, or she spoke about the whole thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if Brandy makes her way out as well to kind of maybe snap him out of it, because she was part of his Bullet Club days as well as his manager. She actually wrestled too, but I think maybe she'll come out and maybe kind of help snap him out of it so he can go back to being like the aggressive, Cody Rhodes that we know from AEW and stuff, but not even AEW, from New Japan really, but. I think it's just to kind of build more of a story with him and kind of give him more depth in character development. I'm not a fan sometimes of stuff like this where he just falls for it very easy, because he even had like the quivering lip and everything, like he was all choked up and stuff, which is great. It really did add to the whole facade of the fake retirement and everything. But again, it's just not eventually it's going to lose its touch, it's going to lose its effect, and I think they're going to have to pull the trigger on having him wisen up to stuff like that, sharpen up to it, and, come back out. But, I mean, we'll see. Time will tell. But I will tell you, I enjoyed SmackDown more than I did Raw this week.
Definitely.
Just because there was more wrestling in it. Gorillas of Destiny looked amazing. Kevin Owens always does great work. It was, stories being advanced and not so much of the hokey comedy stuff, which I'm a fan of, in moderation. But when you got stories to tell, it's kind of like, all right, guys, we got stories we need to put together. We got Clash of the Castle coming up in 2 weeks. We got SummerSlam coming up. We really got to get some stuff going. So I think that's kind of what bothered me about Raw. But yeah, SmackDown I think was a better show this week.
I would agree. I think SmackDown was the better show. I mean, I'd give it like a B. I think it was fine. Like it wasn't terrible. It had much better matches. I enjoyed it quite a bit more. I will say this though: if they all of a sudden next week announce AJ Styles versus Cody Rhodes at Clash of the Castle, I'm gonna be like, "Come on, guys!"
Yeah,
like, that's 2
it can't
weeks
be
away.
a Clash of the Castle.
Just don't, and it'll be a week away. I'm like, don't do that. Like, please give this a chance to breathe and let it play out. Don't immediately try and book something for Clash of the Castle. But we'll see how that goes. But yeah,
I think it would make more
sense
show. If you want to do something for Clash of the Castle that's going to build this, that's going to improve, progress the story. Sorry, I had to pick my words. I had to progress the story. Then I would say let it be the OC picking at Cody, and then Cody gets 2 partners, and you have a 6-man tag at Clash of the Castle. That would be
you could do that.
That would be good, because then you can have them kind of tease some more action between them. But then one of the tag teams that teams up with them can kind of take the pinfall, and that way you protects the champion, protects the contender, and that way you further the story. Or maybe it ends in a DQ because AJ just obliterates him outside of the ring, and the ref is like, all right, we can't. But I don't know. That's just my thoughts. If they're going to do something at Clash of the Castle, it should be a 6-man tag. Let Cody pick up a couple partners. Maybe it's the New Day. Who's on SmackDown right now? Let me look at the roster. I would say for sure, who's available for him, right? But definitely have him team up with somebody that's going to help him out, and that way he can. I'm trying to see the tag teams real quick.
Team up with the Street Profits. Since Bobby Lashley's nowhere to be found, have him.
I don't know where Bobby Lashley. No, because Street Profits are feuding right now. No. Maybe
no, they're kind of available at this point.
They kind of are. Yeah,
they finished the AOP Final Testament feud. And
they did,
or so we think. Available, so you never know. Yeah,
yeah.
Like they just had this matchup with what was it? Oh gosh, who did they have well, they had the match with AOP, but I was like, they haven't really feuded with Legado del Fantasma yet. So
no,
I feel like they're kind of building towards something.
As long as it's not pretty dead.
And the New Day's on Raw, right?
Yeah, New Day's on Raw.
Yeah, because they were on Raw because because the Final Testament is trying to recruit them at this point, apparently, or
no, they're trying to recruit Xavier Woods.
Seeds of dissension. Yeah.
But, well, unless he gets Carmelo Hayes on board, and maybe I don't know, pulls up somebody else.
LA Knight, Carmelo Hayes, and LA Knight, they can attack each other the whole time.
Cost him the match.
You never know.
Shinsuke
cost him the match because they can't get along. Shinsuke Nakamura. There you go.
Like we Baron were once Corbin, enemies. Dare I say? Apollo Crews. He takes all the other pins.
Oh yeah, there you go. Let's see, Apollo Crews and Naomi. Like anyone that's just taking pinfalls all the time. It's like let's load it up. Right on.
But we'll see.
That's it for the recap this week. We'll see how all these storylines pan out. If you have thoughts or ideas on how that'll go, please feel free to leave them in the comments as well. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate all your support as always, and we'd love to hear from you, even when it's the mean stuff. But that's all we got this week. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one.